really to get started with the FathomNet database, this is where you're going to want to create an account and log in. And so as I said before, if you've never gone to the FathomNet database before, there's going to be a big button here on the top right that says sign in. And when you click that button, it's going to be like any other website that requests some sort of like Google or Firebase. And once you do log in, you'll be able to see this. It'll also start to see different menu items here in the header. And the first thing you're going to want to look at is the dashboard. And when you see the dashboard, what this really looks like, or you can think about this, is like a social media feed. So who are the people you're following? What types of, either animals that you're following or regions that you're following. And so as data are uploaded into the database, you can then get notifications that match those activities. But the very first thing that we suggest doing is to set up and fill out your community profile. So this allows people, right, to know about you, know about your contributions, also understand what your expertise might be. You can see here for myself, I'm a wannabe biologist because I'm not. The other thing that you can do is link your ORCID with this account. And the reason why I think that's really important, it's not something that we have quite set up yet, but one of the goals of the FathomNet database is to be able to take, provide attribution for everybody who either contributes data or contributes knowledge, verifies labels, and so make them be authors of the data set. And through our collaboration with NOAA, generate a DOI that's referenced or, referenceable, and you would then get credit or attribution for your contribution. And so we're more readily able to do that using an ORCID and automate that whole process. So, take a little bit of time and fill this out. And then once you do that, then you can see your community profile that, indicates we provide badges on based on your kind of activities. It'll show your, your bio, links to your ORCID. And it also tells you, what are the different roles that you might have within the database, like what are the types of permissions you have. So I'm an admin, so I can make a bunch of different changes. But you as participants in this particular breakout session will have both the read and the update role. An update would allow for improving the annotations, verifying them, etc. And then the other thing that you can access and see here is like what are the observations that I've made, but also the verifications that I've made. And again, we want to make it really clear what are the contributions that you've made. And so that's why we create this ticker here that's then easy for you to print out, share with your bosses or your promotion review committee, so that's really clear, how much time and effort you've put into FathomNet, and it's a measurable contribution. So any questions about that process? No? All right. Also, to make this dashboard really rich, what you want to do is go to topics of interest. And this is where you can follow concepts, you can follow places or regions or people. So what I've done here, so this is the people tab. You can see I'm following Karen Osborne, Yost, Dougal Lindsay, Linda Coons. And so it's these, for some reason I have 4 of me, but the idea here is then you can get notified anytime one of those individuals makes a contribution. And again, this is, just general interest, like how you follow people on social media to get their updates, right? The other thing that you can also follow are places. And so we use the world regions or the marine regions API. And so this is like broken down into different ocean basins, bays, etc. So like, for instance, for me, I might be interested in Monterey Bay. There's Monterey Bay region, Greater Monterey Bay. So this comes from a list that is maintained by, I think, marineregions.org. And so I've selected, a couple places to follow, the Monterey Bay region and then Monterey. And then the last thing, I think this is what'll be of a lot of interest with this group here, is that I can also select particular concepts that I want to follow. So like say I am a fish expert, and so I want to get tagged anytime an Actinopterygii, or in the case of Fathomverse, it's bony fish, gets uploaded to the database because I might want to look at it and refine and fix or verify the annotation. And so you're able to do this by, let's say, I have a thing for larvations. Larvation is actually the animal group that's used in Fathomverse. And so I'll just add them into my, concept follow list. And so now I should get a notification anytime something shows up. So again, this creates a mechanism for us to understand how the database is changing and whether it's changing for the things that are most relevant or of interest to you. So that is at least the starting point, getting started with the database. The next thing I want to do is show you how to view data on the database, and viewing results, and then modifying and verifying annotations. So again, let us know in the chat if you've gotten your account set up so Giovanna can give you those new permissions. But so going back to the database, I will go to Explorer, and this is where you start entering a concept that you might be interested in. So let's go back to that example of bony fish. So as I mentioned during my talk about Fathomverse earlier, we just pushed a whole bunch of data from the game into FathomNet, and we use kind of these. It's a weird, not a weird amalgamation. It's like a morphing between or a combination of morphology and taxonomy to create these animal groups. So bony fish is one of them. Giovanna, you could probably rattle off all of these different groups. 60 of them. I'm happy to provide a list if that's of interest. But the idea here is these are like higher level groups where multiple animals are, a part of. And so one goal I think I would pose to the community is like, the idea is that the game players are helping us refine annotations to give us a really good starting point so that experts can, go start at a high level, search, let's say, all the bony fish, and then start modifying those annotations so that they are, as deep into the taxonomy as possible, so genus or species level. So let's just view what those look like. And then I'm not going to constrain it by a location. But what you'll want to do is select a taxonomy provider. In this case, it's FathomNet. That's just the general taxonomy provider for the entire database. And then you're going to also want to select well, I guess all descendants isn't really important in this case because there is no descendant on the bony fish, like the bony fish tree, because it's not necessarily linked to the taxonomy. But say we were wanting to search for Actinopterygii, and then we wanted to see all of, the animals that have labels, deeper than Actinopterygii, we would want to select, all. And so these are the results. So we have almost 2,500 results or labels that have that are bony fish. And so we can look at a couple of these examples. So, first we can see this is the bony fish that has been not only labeled by name or classified by name, but also a bounding box has been drawn around it. There's also other accompanying details like the location. So we have a latitude and longitude for that observation. This comes from a NOAA dive, and we can view what the entire collection looks like. And so this is the Darwin core, like the metadata that's associated with this collection. So you can see just an example of the different types of imagery that came from this particular dive. In this collection, there's 1,237 images. But the important thing about this is that for every image, we can track back who is the source and where might that information have been collected. The other thing to look at is tags, and you see this is Fathomverse image ID, so you'll know that this is a Fathomverse derived image or annotation. And so the first thing what we would want to do, you see next to bony fish, it says it's not verified. The value of FathomNet database, right, to researchers or AI is that we could have readily available, verified, expertly verified data that is basically serves as a golden data set. Like we know that this is high quality data because those data have been verified. And data coming in from Fathomverse, yes, it's reached consensus by players, but it hasn't gone through necessarily an expert review. And that's where the database is really important and experts like yourself. And so the way to do that is you'll click on bony fish, and what you see pop up underneath the image, it shows the history of the image. So how was the data submitted? Um, if there were comments, so say, oh, I'm not sure what this is, but I think it might be something else. So you can create a comment. I don't think I'm going to break it, but I just added a comment that's test. And so in the history, you can see this like discussion, let's say, that might be between two different taxonomists or experts that are trying to evaluate and figure out what this thing is. So one of the things, can somebody tell me, because this is like a ratfish, right? I know nothing about vertebrates.
Make the image bigger.
We could.
Double click. Yeah, it looks kind of rat-taily to me. So since we can't tell what kind, I would probably want to go in like family level.
Right, so I could suggest an ID, and what would that be?
Macuridae.
Mac. What is it?
Macuridae. So MACOUR.
Getting
Let me type it out.
Macrorid. Okay, with an R.
Macuridae. Yeah, sorry, it wasn't.
Macroridae. Enter comments. I might not be able to see sufficient features to get to genus or species. And I can click save. And so, this is just an idea, I'm basically, the idea is we can have a conversation around what this thing is. Now, say, a number of people have weighed in and they're like, no, I'm pretty sure that it's, I don't know, something deeper or whatever. This is where, as someone with your permissions, you can actually go in and you see this edit button here. You can edit, you can click it, and then you can change that to macro Uridae and then hit save. So what you just saw there is I changed that ID from bony fish to macrouridae, but it's still unverified because we still want someone else to confirm that this is accurate or correct. Okay, and so then that's the process. So like say Giovanna went there and was like, yeah, I agree with this. I'll verify it. And if somebody on this call were to do that, then we would look here on this menu on the right, and this would change from not verified to verified. Does that make sense? So I mean, let's look at a couple other options.
I think before Kakani, just before you move away, another feature while you're here in this view, you're also able to amend the bounding box. So if you want to move it around,
Yeah, I was
because
going to show
sometimes
that next
you might
image.
want to correct the bounding box, maybe expand it, maybe make it smaller. So you're actually able to do that within, yeah, you can see there, and even suggest and change labels that way as well. And so you're able to change the name, kind of move the box around a little bit, create new boxes if you see other stuff that you think you can identify, and even delete stuff within this kind of UI.
Because the reason why that's really helpful is this means like the image has quote unquote full coverage. Um, so if we might not be able to like identify that thing in the back there as a particular species of coral, right? But we can, get higher up in the taxonomy. The idea is that if you're using an image and you're training a model using that image, If you ignore things in the background that are clearly of interest, but just hard to ID, what you then are doing is teaching the AI to also ignore those things. So, even adding an annotation that isn't, very low level has value because it just means that, oh, the AI is going to know that there's something here, might not know at the highest detail, but is something that we can improve upon and be aware of. Merlin, I think you have a question.
Yeah, just quickly, so you mentioned you can delete stuff if you accidentally add one or if it's over something that's like a rock. Do we all have permission to do that? Is there
You
maybe I'm just
should.
not finding how you do that.
So, oops. Okay, well, I didn't see all of that. So if you go back to this page, so when you do a search and you look at the different images, you should be able to click on the image itself. And then there should be a button here in the top right that's add annotation.
And then to delete it, I think if you double click on the box that you want, for example, so you can look at that one at the bottom, if you scroll, there's like, I think there's little dots. It might be hard to see. Yeah, there we go. It's maybe hard to see with the display, but there's at the top, it's kind of cut off. It says delete annotation.
Okay, I don't think that's coming up for me, but maybe I'll reload it.
I have you already on. Let me just make sure, because the permissions is the important piece.
Yeah, and I think also Kakani, I was trying to see if I could add folks and change permissions, but I think also mine wasn't updated. So mine says moderator, read role and moderator role. So I don't think I have actual permissions to change, like update.
So is this your email? Sorry to display this.
Yes, yeah.
So read and update. You should have all you need for with those two permissions.
It looks like I can add annotations and make suggestions, but I don't think that I can delete it. So I just went and made a
Okay.
bounding box that is over nothing, and I don't think that I can delete it.
I think the problem, so this UI, so here if I make another add annotation, why is now? So if I added an annotation here, oh, and now things are moving, clicking the wrong ones. Bear with me. So here, if I click, do you see the three dots?
I see the three dots, but nothing comes up. So it could be my browser. Maybe I'll try a different one.
Are you on Chrome?
No, Edge, I think.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if we actively develop on Edge.
Okay,
So
federal government computer. We're all on
Oh,
Microsoft, but I'll switch.
okay. That might be it. I'm glad you mentioned it. And if not, I'll also explain like how might you, send us a bug, like like report a bug or something that we can address and fix.
Sorry, I am also clicking in the three dots and I can't see the delete part. So
Oh,
yeah.
so it's and then sorry, what was your name? Because I want to make sure that you have.
Sorry, Beatrice.
Okay.
So I mean, I can create something, add an annotation, but when I try to delete it, I can see the three dots, but I cannot see the delete part.
Okay. Is this
Yes.
Beatrice, is this your account?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Giovanna, can you make note of that? But you can do other things like you can add an annotation, you can modify the annotation, you just can't access that delete.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like I click and doesn't show up. Nothing show up, sorry.
In the three.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, we'll make a note of it because it's possible that that isn't incorporated into the permission update, the update permission. And so that's a quick fix on our team side. But I'm glad we're doing this, right? This is how we learn what works and what doesn't. And then there's a prompt like to ask you to save your work, which is nice. And then now my changes have been saved and I can go back to the image details. And again, because I'm not a biologist, I know I'm familiar with Fathomverse, so C-star. And it's verified in this case, but again, someone can go through and make changes to this. So Giovanna, what should I?
Sorry, oh, asteroidia. Yeah, would be a good, it's the class level.
Beatrice, I think you have a question.
Yes, me again. So I have another question. Okay, you can see the information of you know who put the image there. But what about the person who get the identification? The credits, you know what I mean? You have the credits for the owner. So if we start working on identifying, so how, you know, at the end we can be, let's say, recognized for all the work done.
Yeah. No, I mean, in this case, so if you were within the FathomNet database making these adjustments and changes, like I made that change. So I've been assigned, like identified as asteroidia by myself. So like let's say let's go back to my account and then my profile. So right now I have 17 verifications. Let's go to another image. I know that is Actinopterygii. So I'm going to go back to the image details and I'm going to select bony fish and then I'm going to, I know this is something else. So Actinopterygii, save. It's still unverified, but if I refresh this, I now have 18 annotations because I made that change. So the database is tracking that in real time. Does that answer your question?
Okay, just in the moment that somebody pulled the data, you know what I mean? If I go to the database and I want to work with this specific image, I pull the data or the image, and I assume that data come with the credits from the owners, right?
It will, yeah.
Came with any data from the people who help identify the image? I mean, to taxonomically identify the organism or not?
Let's see. I just downloaded the image. Oh, it's a JSON, which isn't going to be very straightforward for me to open up quickly. That's what I was worried about. Oh, here. So if I stop my share and then share my other screen. So I don't know if you saw me do that really quickly, but basically you can treat the images in your searches kind of like items that you add to a shopping cart, and then you can download them. That's one way in which you can download data from the database. There's also a way to do that programmatically, you know, which is like using Python or whatever to search by an animal group and then download all of the images. So what I did was I downloaded just that one image and the associated data that comes along with this image. And it's a JSON format, which helps with model training, etc. And so this is the data that you see. A unique identifier, the URL, so where can you access this image? The contributor's email in this case is the you know, because it came from Fathomverse, the contributor is Fathomverse, you know, the latitude and longitude, the timestamp, etc. The existing concept name, the observer, so who originated that that ID is Fathomverse. But yeah, I'm noticing that we don't have like a verifier field or, like an updated observer field. So that's something that we can definitely address. And perhaps the verifier, I don't know what would be more important to you. Would it be the most recent, the observer that is associated with the most recent concept ID? Like that's what you want to see here? Or the verifier, like who verified and said that this label is accurate, or both? Like what has the most value to you?
Well, let's say that I mean, in some sense, this can be a part-time job, right? Let's just put it there. So the identification. So normally sometimes I receive some photos from a fish and they ask me to help to identify them, right? In a professional career, you get time to do that. And most of the times you also actively participate with these people in, or they offer you to participate with them in a publication or depending on the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to start doing the identification or, going there and try to identify, it will be, I can be wrong in some of the identifications. So it doesn't mean anything for people, to just say, oh yeah, Beatriz was there, trying to identify that. But if I am taking this very seriously and I'm going and, doing the identification for those species that haven't been identified to the, I don't know, genus or species level, it would be great also, to have my name there.
And the database does. So the database keeps track of all of that. And so that's why, like, when you look at your profile, you see here all of your observations, all of your verifications, your name is listed in the history. Your name, as well as your ORCID ID, is added as an author to the database. So you are getting attribution, you are getting credit. It's just this other information that I showed you in the JSON, that's for the person who is wanting to use that image to like train a model. And so that level of detail might not be necessary for that use, but the database is tracking all of your contributions. And that's why we have here this community page. So it's really easy for you to like access that and quantify that, as a professional, because you want to make sure it's clear what your contributions were. This was a very strong request from Dougal Lindsay, and we've spent a lot of time trying to implement that. Great question. Any others? I know we're running a little low on time.
I saw a question. So someone was asking what to do in the case when the classification does not show. So, we have our pre-populated list. So they would like to add something that's not necessarily in the auto populated list. And you actually should be able to just type in whatever identification, even if it doesn't pop up, but let us know if for some reason you can't. It might be a permissions thing.
Actually, I did try to do that earlier and I wasn't able to add a genus that wasn't there.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So it looks like it might be a permissions thing because I think I can do it in my moderator role.
Okay.
I'll add that to the list.
Yeah, that'll be another good permission, because the way we made FathomNet, unlike other platforms, we recognize, right, that we're going to consistently be coming across animals that might not already be named or discovered. And so insisting that everybody sticks to, particular taxonomy or a particular name is, I think, challenging. But one of the things that what that means is we want to make sure you can enter any name. The problem with that is like misspellings, etc. And so what Laura, our ML ops researcher, is focused on is like trying to automate checks to evaluate situations where you might have differences in spellings, and then notifying the contributor of that like that disparity, so that we could either make changes programmatically, or they can go and make changes, or just, you know, that's maybe intended. Okay. Well, the last thing that I had, and we've like 30 seconds left. We have 2 surveys. One is a broadening participation survey. So like we need to understand and know, like, who are we reaching? Are we reaching a diverse community? You know, is this mostly US based? You know, this is something that helps us understand, like, how might we change or restructure our engagement approach around the program. And so that first survey, we would love it if you would take, you know, 5 minutes out of your day to do that. And then that survey on the right is the post-workshop survey. So to tell us what was valuable, what might you have wanted to learn more about. You know, I wanted to show you how to report bugs, so we ran out of time. But so if you can just give us some constructive feedback so that we can make sure that, you know, everybody is learning from this and people are getting value out of these activities. So hopefully you have both of these QR codes, and we'll be sharing these slides too. But yeah, we appreciate having you all join us today.